Hello and welcome to the channel. It's been a while since the last video. I did not mean to disappear for the entirety of July, but it happened anyway. In all honesty, I was dealing with a bit of a burnout and the heat wave is also back, which did not help. So to get back into the game, I decided, you know what? Let's do something chill. Let's do something easy. Let's work on some redesigns. Our first design is Bennett, a young adventurer from Mondstadt with a horrendous amount of bad luck. I kinda realized I haven't done any redesigns for any male characters for this channel, and Bennett is a character whose design I've always found a little bit iffy. So this felt kind of like the perfect time to tackle it. In all fairness to the little guy, his design is actually pretty solid at communicating what he's about. You can tell he's an adventurer, especially with his bags. His scars and the tape on his nose perfectly showcase the fact he definitely gets hurt a lot because of all that bad luck of his. The goggles kind of read to me like your classic early to mid 2000s anime kid protagonist, which does also kind of fit Bennett's spunky and positive personality. It's a perfectly serviceable and successful design. But that shirt of his, I do not like that shirt. I don't know who dressed him. I don't know why they let him leave the house like this. I disapprove of it. I don't like this shirt. So first things first, I wanted to start with a sketch that was pretty similar to his original design. At this point, I wasn't sure what it was exactly that I hated about Bennett's shirt. So I figured, let's put some kind of sleeveless turtleneck. Maybe I just don't like the fact that there's so much skin showing. Thankfully, for the good of this video, that was not the problem. A big issue for me, it turns out, was the silhouette. I just don't like the silhouette the shirt gives him. I think it doesn't look interesting, so that was the first thing I needed to change. I tried a few things, like turning the shirt into more of a crop top, kind of like the cropped vest of his Natlan skin they gave him last year. I tried a hoodie. I tried different variations of the same concept. I actually really do like the Natlan skin he has, and that's kind of what pointed me towards the cropped vest look. And I did kind of like the look of the turtleneck, but I did end up turning it more into a crop top to keep the kind of exposed look he has from his original design. I still wanted to keep the ornament that keeps his original shirt closed. I decided on adding some straps where it kind of just glued it on. What is this strap for? I don't know. Genshin likes useless straps on their male characters. Diluc has them under his coat. Bertaglia has them under his vest. Bennett can have them under his vest as well. One thing I decided to give him kind of on a whim was this little scarf. I just felt like it fit with the adventurer look, and it ended up working out better than anticipated because at this point I decided I didn't want to keep the sort of sailor collar he has at the back of his shirt, but I did really like the idea of having something flowy in the back of the design. So the scarf ended up helping with that because the tails of said scarf were a good way of keeping like a flowy shape. His shorts are mostly the same, with the biggest difference being the weird flaps he has on them. I honestly don't know what those are supposed to be, and I don't know what their purpose is, but in my case I decided they're gonna be decorative, and also there's only gonna be one because I wanted to add some asymmetry to the design. Other than that, I added an extra bandage on his cheek and his knee, which I actually didn't end up keeping, and made his hair slightly fluffier. With the sketch finished, I moved to the illustration. I wanted a dynamic pose with his classic thumbs up since it's a super recognizable thing about him. Getting into the line art made me realize how many details I actually sort of didn't take into account during the sketching part, and while they weren't really a bother while I was doing the line art, they did kind of end up making things a little more complicated for me in the coloring stage. It wasn't a huge issue, like things were mostly smooth sailing, but still I kind of probably should have thought about all that during the sketching part. First things first, I wanted to give him a more noticeable tan. He is canonically a shade darker than everyone in Mon, but it's so subtle that it's borderline unnoticeable. So for my redesign, I wanted to make it a lot more obvious. It's still supposed to be a tan, so technically he would have tan lines like Mualani. I just didn't draw them because I'm not good at placing tan lines. For the turtleneck, I already knew I wanted it to be the same color as the gloves, I think. I don't know what those are. The thing he has underneath his gloves. These things. You'll notice I also made one of them longer than the other. That was, again, to add some asymmetry because it's kind of the spice of a design. For the lining of his vest, I actually used his drip marketing artwork as reference. While it's a dark brown in-game, it's navy blue in the artwork, and it was a nice way of having blue at the top and bottom of the design. I also decided to make the beige of the original shirt lighter brown. I'm not entirely sure why I decided that. I think there was an idea that it was a specific type of material, but honestly I don't remember. It ended up looking fine, so I'm not complaining, but yeah. For the rest of the outfit, I stayed pretty close to the original colors. I still wanted to change the color of the flap. At this point, I wanted to use it to reference the Adventure Guild with both the logo and the color of the uniform. I did not end up keeping the green because it just didn't look great with the rest of his designs, so I went back to my orange idea. But then it still didn't look great because of the orange on his shorts, so I actually went back in after the speed paint, so you'll see what he actually looks like in the final illustration. And here he is! As you can see, I went back to the yellow to orange gradient of my original sketch and simply got rid of the orange parts of the shorts, which I actually didn't even like. I also realized I kinda strayed from the cropped vest look I had for him, so I tried to get that back in there, but it's not perfect. Either way, I am actually really happy with his design. I would love to hear what you guys think of it. The second character I'll be redesigning is Fischl, an investigator for the Adventure Guild, but more importantly, she's the princess of a kingdom from another world who found herself in Tevat for mysterious reasons. Oh, Fischl, you truly are the greatest role player of them all. Honestly, I really like Fischl, and I do like what they were going for with her design, but I kinda wish she was wearing a skirt. It's my biggest gripe with her design because as is, she doesn't read like a princess. They did end up giving her an actual princess fit later on, so another problem I have is that I feel like her design lacks a bit of that gothic style they were going for. I remember seeing this specific piece of concept art where they were really going in that direction. Because I had a very specific idea in mind, I didn't do that many sketches for her. I relied a lot more on references for this one. That being said, I decided I wanted to explore the idea of giving her some makeup, mostly on her uncovered eye. A lot of the gothic looks I was seeing had a full face of makeup, but I wanted to keep things more low-key, with only some eyeshadow to add some dramatic flair. For her actual outfit, I made a few small changes, like turning all the bowing motifs into birdwing motifs. Since she already has a raven theme going on, I thought it'd make more sense for her. I added in the skirt, which ended up making me also change the abdomen area into more of a corset kind of look. I added some gothic inspired accessories like the wrist cuffs on her hand and the ruffle color, and this cool arm warmer on her right arm. A lot of fairly small changes, all things considered. For the colors, I pretty much kept everything the same, with the biggest change besides her skirt being her abdomen. I really wanted it to read like some sort of fancy corset, so rather than keeping the sheer look of the original, I made it entirely purple to really sell the idea that it was a separate piece of clothing. I did end up getting rid of the cross she has there in her original design. Now that it wasn't part of her sheer leotard, it kind of looked a little strange. For the final illustration, it took me a while to find a pose I liked, but I eventually settled for something more front-facing so I could really showcase her design. It was also sort of a reference to her splash art. I decided to spend a lot more time on the hair during the line art, mostly because long flowy hair is something I do actually struggle with, so it felt like a nice excuse to get a bit of training in there. Outside of that, the line art was pretty straightforward, just took a little while. The color is easy peasy as well. I eyeballed everything based on my references and the colored sketch and just went to town. Just like with Bennett, I did add in some elements I'd skipped from the original design, and after some rendering, she was all done. And here's Fischl. Not too different from her original look, but that's because she was already pretty iconic. I really think the skirt adds a bit of a regal look to the whole design, and I like how the bird wings on top of it ended up looking. And that's 2 more redesigns done. I'm really glad I decided to start back up with these because they really helped me get back into the swing of things. You can find the finished artworks on my Tumblr, on YouTube in the post tab, and now on my Instagram. That's right, I made an Instagram for the channel. It's fully updated and even has some of the artworks I only ever post on Tumblr, so feel free to follow me there. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on the redesigns, if you like them, if you don't like them, what you would have done, what you liked about the original designs. Subscribe if you'd like to see more of what I have in store, like if you liked the video, hype if you really liked the video, and as always, thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye!